This is a Gemini new moon, but a lot of the energy is still very strong and accentuating topics of Cancer, home, family, nurturing, where we came from. And with Gemini, it is about the messages that we get from the world. This is a time when we're realizing that the messages that we understand about the world, the way that we perceive information when we take it in, what we expect of the world, is coming from the messages that we were given from our family upbringing, from our origin, from our family lineage. It doesn't even have to be directly from our parents. Our parents were influenced by their parents, and it goes back. And of course, we were influenced by our grandparents as well. This introduction about this Gemini new moon is going to get into the detail of the energy you can expect with the recent Venus-Jupiter conjunction that we just had. I'll briefly touch on that because that one is also talked about in my previous video for our Sag full moon. But we're revisiting this because Mercury is in Cancer. Mercury is the ruler of this moon. And Mercury decides some of the themes that we're talking about as we're planting new seeds right now for the next 1 year cycle in Gemini topics. Ceres, Sedna, and Uranus are conjunct, and they are squaring the nodes. The nodal axis is on its way out of Virgo and Pisces, but not without a bang. This Uranus square, including Sedna and Ceres, talk again about family betrayal, our perspectives of betrayal. It doesn't have to even be a big betrayal. We all experience small betrayals in the world. That is what being human and living a life is all about. What we do with that is what matters. And that's the story of Sedna. As a result of some of the family betrayal that happened with her father, a whole universe was developed under the ocean. More on that. And the ruler, Mercury, again, of this new moon, is conjoining Aphrodite. This is enhancing the Venusian themes even more. Once you get the essence of all this energy from the introduction, check your sign by sign, check your sun, moon, and rising. Combine all three if you know them to get the best understanding. There'll be timestamps for the introduction, timestamps for your zodiac sign. Now, let's get into it. I'll start with Gemini itself, and I just got off of a group call with Lynette Malone of Astrology Collective. It was a wonderful group, and we talked about Gemini. She did a beautiful presentation, and what my biggest takeaway from this morning was Gemini as the etheric layer of our aura, which she talked about as that connection from the ethereal realm into the physical. And that's what Gemini is about. It's about balancing the dualities of the spiritual world and our physical, practical world. It is about all dualities. It rules the dual organs in the system. So the lungs have a left and a right, our brain a left and a right, our hands. Gemini is all about the intelligence through the left and right hemispheres of our body. But there's an integration point there. The left and right sides of our body do not operate in isolation. They're a team. And that's what we need to think about with the spiritual process, whatever that is for us at the moment, or energetic awareness. And what does that mean in the physical? With Uranus, our more enlightened bird's eye view, divine perspective from afar, squaring the nodal axis in Virgo and Pisces, this is the axis of balancing spiritual divine energy, Pisces and Virgo, the practical day-to-day life. So this makes me think about where we're at in each of our lives for how we're merging an energetic spiritual life and the daily practice. It's going to be different every day. It's going to be different for each of us. It's going to be different as we exercise that part of our awareness to realize that we can bring a certain quality of energy to everything we do. Gemini also rules words, and I loved that Lynette also pointed out that words are our vibrational connection to the unseen realm. The written word is sacred. what we put down on paper, when we write our intentions, when we make something physical that is just a thought, there's a density and a weight and an importance to this process. But beyond that, just speaking, just our words, just our thoughts create a frequency change in our body. So we can always lean on that Gemini part of our lives and that Gemini Mercury strength if we can't just click a button and default into the energy and the feeling that we want. We have the power to think about it. We have the power to draw up a past memory because we have all of this Cancerian energy and themes around nurturing with Ceres and Sedna and Uranus conjunct, squaring the nodes. This Ceres is about how we experienced nurturing in our early childhood. Did the words that were coming from our home environment match the feeling and the frequency or the behavior? What was the behavior that left an impression on us about how the world works? Our early formative years, our early childhood education is also Gemini. So the feedback that we get in our early education is how we decide the world is going to respond to us for the rest of our lives until we make active choice to try and change that from an internal feelings experience. That's what's happening in a lot of ways with this new moon, is it's planting a seed for re-imprinting thought, words, frequency, nurturing, how we relate to family dynamics, how we relate to receiving comfort and nurturing and a sense of emotional safety in the world. Uranus is also in Gemini, where this new moon is, and conjunct Ceres and Sedna, also in Gemini, and squaring the nodal axis. On a practical level, this can show up as unexpected news. Something unexpected from the Gemini realm. This could be media, words. Watch for something that has a deeper meaning. So anything that jars you and rattles you, or you're drawn to at this time, or gets your attention, anything that feels unusual, out of the ordinary, and maybe suddenly flips a script on you. Think about this as a very important message of re-imprinting something about your experience with nurturing, your perception of betrayal. Betrayal is a perception. We are only thinking about what's happened from our perspective when we feel betrayed. We're not considering what has gone on for the other people, where their decisions were seated in meeting their own needs and maybe at the ignorance of what someone else needed. But we all do that in big and small ways. Just as a small example, that the way that we brush off insignificant things, something that's been heavy on my conscious lately is living with insects, organisms, cockroaches. Now that I'm in Australia, I've had to deal with cockroaches. They're just everywhere. But in my now indoor kitchen, when they were in my outdoor kitchen, it was kind of like, whatever. I lived out of boxes. Everything was free game when you're living outside. But now that I have an enclosed kitchen again, my goal would be to keep it cockroach free. But this is a moral dilemma because they're too quick to catch and release. So I have to spray them, which means they're going back out into the ecosystem with toxins. The thing with taking care of one need, I would like to keep my food and cutlery and stuff clean of where cockroaches might have been in the garbage and then into my kitchen. And yet, the means of actually dealing with them can have a huge effect on the ecosystem. So where does that apply to the feelings of betrayal? When someone else is blindsidedly taking care of a need, we can't fully comprehend the ripple effect of all of our actions. We would go crazy. Maybe some Virgos can. And that is actually what drives people into neuroses and anxiety and unbalanced emotional wellness, because there's too much projection of all of the repercussions of someone's actions. So we need to find that middle ground. in a long-winded way, I'm trying to say that there's a lot of room for forgiveness when we look at people's actions or betrayals towards us as a survival instinct for themselves. That's what Sedna's father did when the boat was sinking and she was hanging onto the edge of the boat, and he decided to cut off her fingers to save his own life. And she drowned and her fingers went into the ocean, and they ended up creating all of the wildlife and the sea and ocean creatures that we know today. What happened is that it sprung up a whole universe under the water, and that became her perception of the world. So what do we do with our past experiences, our feelings of feeling nurtured and cared for, that Ceres, the asteroid Ceres, or not? And is there room for forgiveness and transformation of what we carry forward into the world? How we create our own universe moving forward? How quickly can we change the perception of our great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, and the opportunities that we have today to take action with a different awareness, because that is the gift of every generation. I love all of these Venusian highlights. So Venus and Jupiter having just come together on June 9th. What happened on June 9th for you? I would love to hear it in the comments if you noticed anything. A lot of videos I'm noticing out there on the luckiest day of the year. Some call Jupiter-Sun conjunction that, but we also recently had that. This is a lovely moment when the two most beneficial planets of the zodiac come together, but it's not always tangible luck and blessings. It's sometimes a moment of inner change, of valuing something different, feeling optimistic about love and money and security and getting what you need out of life, knowing that you can take action and participate with the universe, with Jupiter, and expand your love, expand your assets, expand romantic relationships and delicious food and all of the Venusian fun, beautiful things. But now we have Mercury conjoining Aphrodite. In my last video, it was Venus conjoining Aphrodite. But now with Mercury here, this is a much more practical application of this Aphrodite story. And again, Aphrodite had to reassess her perception of betrayal and looking at Psyche, the most beautiful mortal that was taking all of the attention from her, not as a betrayal, but as everybody has fair playing ground. Everybody has beauty to offer the world. Everybody gets their time of attention and time of seclusion, and it doesn't make any of us more or less valuable. So when Mercury, the planet of intelligence and modesty and a humble approach to service and life and curiosity to the world, comes together with Aphrodite, we get to be more curious about finding divine intelligence and love inside of us, that stuff that no one can touch. Lynette also went over the story of Hercules in the search for the golden apple. And whatever we search outside of ourselves for blessed knowledge and beauty and all of those things, even health stuff, one of my favorite traditional Chinese medicine doctors, Kelly Cmolik, I'll list her below. She's a big advocate, like many holistic doctors, that you cannot fix an internal inflammatory problem with anything from the outside. I loved that line. It really resonates on so many levels, and that's the Aphrodite story. We cannot heal or change anything on the outside of ourselves or grasp at anything in the outside world. We need to address the energy and frequency from the inside. And that's what this last little bit of the Virgo Pisces axis is showing us with the North Node in Pisces. Where is the core of our energy at? How do we shift it? I am also working on a whole new series of feelings and emotions, and that'll be a process and a hands-on workbook, which is available now, but it will come with a ton more information and meditative tips for shifting that internal space. And it doesn't come just from shifting to where we want to go. We have to deal with the past as well. We have to deal with all the emotional beings and feelings that live inside of us because of the experiences we've had through our entire life. They come along for the ride. And that can be the challenge when we're trying to constantly shift into an energy that feels good, is that there's this pullback and this resistance from our past experiences that will always pull us back when we leap forward because they want to come too. So this is another strong message for Gemini and the dualities, is that it all comes together. Every experiences we've had, no matter how harshly lovely we've judged them, the good and the bad, the seeming opposites come together and go on the journey forward. Now let's see where this is showing up in your life. Check your sun, moon, and rising, and let's get into the sign by sign. Libra. This is a 9th house new moon for you. This is a brand new beginning with your perspectives of the world. So for you more than other signs, as always, you are the kings and queens of balancing out the axis. That is your whole role in this life as a dominant Libra person, whichever placements you have here. You are going to live in the pendulum life of going to the extremes and finding that perfect balanced middle ground. This makes you also a master at that Gemini polarities and dualities. Libra can be more about the polarities, Gemini can be about the dualities, but we're splitting hairs here because it really means encompassing opposites, encompassing things that seemingly don't blend easily or at all. What does this mean in your 9th house of perspective, higher learning, spiritual studies? This can be adding more religious practice and spiritual practice and discipline and spiritual pilgrimage. This could be travel in a way that wakes up your life to different experiences of yourself. There's astrocartography astrology. So when we go to different places in the world, we actually physically do activate different energies because each place in the world has its own birth chart, and it has astrocartography planets where certain planets have different strengths. There's a lot of different ways of looking at astrology from a physical map, locational perspective. But essentially, you go to a place and it just pulls different energy out of you. So some of you Libras might be doing more foreign things, foreign places, people, experiences that are not innate to you. So you don't have to travel to experience this. You could do this in a place that you've lived your entire life. Just do something out of the ordinary, something that's unfamiliar, something that puts you into a foreign circumstance. So you have to navigate something based on your past experiences, but that don't really have a whole lot to do with your current experience. That's another form of balancing dualities. This 9th house is squaring the nodal axis in your 6th and 12th house, which is, again, just more emphasis on what I said in the introduction about bringing the spiritual life into your practical daily life, into your health, breathing in an experience of health and vitality. How do you want your daily life to go? What do you want it to feel like? Libras, you could already be masters of this because you have Pisces in the 6th house. So you're either going to avoid your tasks and want to escape and daydream, or you're in really creative work and you're balancing creativity and bringing energy into physical matter and day-to-day life. For those of you where this applies to health, bring it into your physical being. Breathe in a sense of well-being. I live this, where chronic illness or new illnesses or injuries to the body that get you down, the stress that you experience from that change in life and that change in vitality can be the very thing that keeps people sick, and especially going to regular medical care. As someone who's worked in osteopathy for 15 years, I see the gaps in what traditional Western medical has to offer, and what an understanding of how the body works from an osteopathic perspective, which is that the body has the most intelligence to fix itself. And it's more of a preventative model to give the body space to do what it needs to do. The mistake that I made when I was younger was, and I think this is very common thoughts, is that our medical system is the go-to for health. But the purpose of the medical system is actually life or death. Anything that you want on the spectrum of preventative wellness or optimal well-being, not from a life or death situation, but just your health isn't great and you want it to be better, that needs to be done through other practices. And one of the reasons that I switched out of osteopathy and into a more of an astrology focus is that there's only so much that I can even do from a physical, the dimensions of the body. It has to be done through energy language. And that's what I'm moving into with astrology, is that we need to communicate to our bodies from an energetic space that there's a different way to live, whether illness has manifested, whether our daily habits are tanking us. And this isn't an easy thing. I don't want to summarize it in a way that makes it sound oversimplified, because it's very complex. The energy that we bring to our day-to-day lives, to our health, to our perspectives of duty, these things are an ongoing reworking process. The reality is that we have a lot to do, and it can be tiring and exhausting. And you could feel that with the North Node in Pisces. The North Node is bringing a lot of energy to your 6th house. So however this is showing up for you, this could be a time where you have felt like you're dragging your heels a little bit to get through the day. Or there's a fog that's not allowing you to think clearly. Or you're on an uber creative wave and you're really dialed into the spiritual intelligence and wisdom through a feelings way, a feelings message, because that's what Pisces is about. If you want divine intellect and intuition, that comes from Uranus and Aquarius. If you want to feel that connection to the whole universe, that's what Pisces is. I'm excited to report that for you, this Venus and Jupiter conjunction of the two most beneficial planets in the entire zodiac happened in your 10th house. What did you feel on June 9th? Did anything happen with your career, your authority in the world, your ability to step into a role of nurturing authority, not a defensive one? Has your perspective changed on your career or what you want to move into with the roles that you take on in this world? The 10th house isn't just career, but it's roles, it's masks that we wear. It is the energy that we put into building a foundation for any place that we want to go in the world. So it's that practical system that we overlay on everything that we work towards. There's magic in the air when Jupiter and Venus come together in this part of your chart. And now Mercury, the ruler of this moon, conjoining Aphrodite here. So there's something about your career, 10th house, authority in the world that you're learning has an energetic quality that no one can take away. There's a nurturing that you're giving yourself that is bleeding into how you are perceived by other people, which makes other people feel more nurtured by you, because this is the house of Cancer. Perhaps status is even changing for some Libras out there. That's another manifestation of the 10th house, is that it's our status, our reputation, and our public image. Regardless of how this is manifesting, most Libras out there are probably thinking a little bit more about how they come across in general to other people. This also squares the first house and where, depending on where your ascendant angle is, which is what decides the first house in the beginning of your chart, which is another persona, how we are viewed by other people house. So this, when we get squares, there's just a bigger burst of shift. There's a struggle or something in life that propels us forward faster than before. And again, this has to do with how you come across to other people. What's the frequency of nurturing that you embody, and trust in having emotional security for yourself. And then it's an ability to magnetize that to you even more strongly, because people feel that it's coming from you, not that you're needing it and trying to pull it in, as far as those times that we all do that when we want to find emotional security from the outside, and we want someone else to wrap us in a big hug and provide that comfort for us. It actually does create actual chemicals in our body that give us the sense of feeling nurtured and comforted. But we cannot receive that from others if our quills are up and we're on the defense mode. We have to be in a receiving energy. So if something's going on in your life, look to the situations and scenarios around you, and somehow they could be showing you where you need to go to magnetize more of what you want, from a place of authority, from a place of already having what you need when it comes to emotional security, from a place of radiating that outward, from a place of your own leadership, having that quality. And how is this affecting your day-to-day life on the 6th and 12th axis of Virgo and Pisces? How is this changing your perspective of the world? And in a practical way, maybe some of you are traveling, getting new jobs that require dealing with foreign people, foreign countries, maybe even going to foreign places. But from a spiritual perspective, big perspective shifts are possible now. Sudden shifts that seem to come out of nowhere could completely change your world, change your work, change your health, and change how you operate on a day-to-day level. You let me know, Libra. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you. It really is so much fun chatting in the comments. So thank you so much for showing up there, for reaching out for Zoom calls. If you would like to book a reading with me, my booking link is in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Scorpio, this is an 8th house new moon for you. So this is Gemini if you're a Scorpio rising, and if you're a sun or moon, for these general readings, how we do it is we put the sun or moon on the ascendant, and we still read it like you have a Scorpio ascendant or rising sign. So the 8th house then is ruled by Gemini, but by classic definition, the 8th house is a Scorpio placement. It is where the underworld, the journey to the underworld takes place. And Venus is a big part of this underworld story. If you want more of an expert in this Venus underworld story, do seek out my friend and colleague, Michelle Burns of Capricorn Rising Astrology. She does beautiful work on how Venus operates in our charts, and the amount of detail that comes from just that alone is massive. So I will link her below. But back to your 8th house. This is a new beginning in the underworld of how you take in information. Does it go straight to your subconscious, is my question with the Gemini quality there. A lot of information could either directly go into the subconscious mind, which it does for all of us. Scorpios are very adept at getting this into the forefront of their awareness. Not a lot gets past you, depending on which type of Scorpio you are. How much Scorpio you have in your chart is going to decide how much time you spend in this underworld. feeling your way through your own internal experience, not just perceiving what's going on for other people. That's a huge skill with Scorpios, but it could get stuck in that projection of that is someone else and not me too. And when we go into that world of that is someone else and it's me too, then we open those doors and we don't always want to go into those places. But you know this even better than myself. When we do go through that emotion and we let it flow through our body, but it becomes a bit of a euphoric experience. It's like a sneeze. It's that release. And with this theme of dualities, this is a time where you are very strongly connecting your past subconscious versions of self to your present current self. And you're walking together like a team. You're going hand in hand, and you're feeling like these past psychological, emotional parts of yourself are friends that have a really good message for you, but that you're taking the lead. And that's the teamwork part, is that you're not ignoring this past emotional stuff that happened. You're using it as signals and strengths to know when to take action, when to do what, when to hold back, when you want to move towards something or away from something. But you're keeping that present self more crisp and separated than ever, yet holding the dual space of energy, of subconscious, of present moment, of the entire mystical universe and this tiny physical body here on Earth. When it comes to the physical body and all of these Venus topics that are happening right now, the 8th house is also about resources. It is about merging resources with another person. It is about being supported by another person, by physical money that is not yours. That can come in so many different forms. So that can come in, it can cover debts and taxes, but it can cover loans, it can cover inheritances and money that just comes to you and supports you. So a brand new cycle in how you're dealing with your finances. Something unexpected could certainly happen when it comes to this part of your life. This is where Uranus is. You could have unexpected messages, but it's also squaring the nodal axis of 5th and 11th for you. Who are you at your most authentic, creative, playful, childlike self? Who are you out in the group world? And how does that connect to these 8th house transformational, either psychological or financial topics? There are so many ways this could physically manifest because it's the 5th house where the North Node is. It could have to do with children for some of you, and there could be a lot of financial stuff that goes along with that. Merging finances, getting support for your children from a financial perspective, that could be going on. But at a psychological level, the opportunity is to become more childlike yourself. The North Node in Pisces is giving you some last little boosts on how to be creative, how to be in that feeling flow, how to connect with it and use it to your advantage rather than dissociating or hiding away and having that kind of fake fun from dissociation. It's not really fake. I don't think that's the best word for it. It's more that if it is of a dissociative quality, whatever fun you're having, whatever creative process you're in, there's something bigger that can be tapped into when you are using the duality of Gemini and you're present and you're consciously aware of what you're doing and you're tapping into this mass amount of energy that you have access to. As a Scorpio, you just do, but the North Node in your 5th house, and you've had all of this Pisces energy with Saturn and Neptune having been there for 3 years, and gosh, now I'm losing track of the Neptune transits, 11 plus years. There's something showing up in life that is showing you the final step in the Pisces realm that you've been working so hard on in your 5th house of creativity. You could be birthing a creative project if it doesn't have to do with children yourself, or you have just spent this last long period of time really refining what joy and happiness and authenticity mean to you. And I've said this before, so if you watch my videos, a bit of a repeat, but the South Node in your 11th house, your groups have to change. Your groups are going to change because you have changed so deeply with all of this work in your 5th house. And there's something about the 8th house that could be creating a big transformation, sudden reversal that is affecting your groups and communities as well. Or there's an element that's also asking for you to align with people that are working towards the same cause, that have the same goals, the same humanitarian objectives. That has to change as we change. And sometimes we don't even consciously actively choose the people and the communities that we hang out with. They just kind of happen. And that's natural through life. We're going to magnetize where we're at. We're going to magnetize the situations and the people that match that. But if we hold on past their expiry date, it's transits like this that come in and create a situation where you can no longer hold on for sake of just going with the flow or not realizing that things are no longer a good fit or just thinking that maybe that's normal. This is a new moon where you're going to be noticing at a psychological level something go through a complete transformation in yourself, a death and rebirth of sorts, and that's going to change your networks. And of course, I just want to say again, for some of you, this could have to do with actual children. 8th house is the house of birth, and the 5th house is the house of children, and Pisces is the house of gestation, that 9-month growing period. And now Mercury and Aphrodite conjoining in your 9th house, Jupiter and Venus conjoined there on June 9th. What happened on June 9th? Did something change your perspective? Did something happen with foreign places, foreign people, something overseas? There's some magic in the air, big blessings, big gifts, big perspective changes. And something's developing in your perspective in the house of foreign places, foreign people, and your spiritual practices about something inside of you that no one can take away, with your spiritual connection, with your sense of adventure, with your desire to seek new knowledge and be an advocate for your own growth and expansion from a knowledge perspective. What is it that's happening at a psychological level with this Mercury new moon in Gemini, but Mercury's in Cancer, conjoining Aphrodite, the asteroid of Venus, in your 9th house of perspective of foreign things? So there's a lot of overlap here. It's going to be different for each of you. I would love to hear what's happening in your perspective that is making you feel more solid in your sense of spiritual value that no one could take away from you. Something that you're beaming from the inside out right now. I bet for a lot of you, this has to do with creativity, which could be your children. They are our creative projects. What is it that's going on at a psychological level, financial level, group level? So much going on, Scorpio. Thank you for hanging out for this video. If you would like to book a one-on-one with me, my link will be in the description below. Thank you for hanging out in the chats and letting me know what's going on in real life. That really makes things come alive. And thank you for all that fun. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Sagittarius, what a lovely new moon to have in your partnership house. This is happening in your 7th house of committed partnerships, contractual partnerships. This is business, romantic, any significant other person that shows up as a mirror to us. This is why this house also connects to karmic people in our lives, because by karmic contract, we have certain people come in just to reflect something back to us. This is about your relationship to other people. How are you planting seeds to move forward with others in a new way? Uranus is about to take you on a whole other ride and journey in this part of your life. If you haven't checked it out already, check out my Uranus in Gemini video. This is an 8-year transit, and expect the unexpected, as they say with Uranus. But it's these curveballs that Uranus brings into our lives that, I don't love this overused term, but Uranus is the awakener. It is the thing that happens in our life that makes us pay attention. That's the wake up part, is that it's attention, it's awareness. It's we walk through the world not actually paying attention to everything that's going on. It's impossible. We cannot feel all the blood flowing through our body, hear absolutely everything that's going on in our environment, and just pick up on every single nuance and conversation happening at a 5-kilometer radius. I mean, it's just impossible to pick up on all of the information going on around us. But Uranus is intentional, where it wants us to pay attention to something new. So it shakes up our environment and the situations happening around us to show us something that we didn't see before. That's what's happening in relationships for you. What have you not been seeing about how you connect with other people? About the types of people that you want to connect with and bond with, what works with you, what doesn't work with you. Having Sedna and Uranus and Ceres all together, squaring the nodes in your immutable axis, you are one of the signs that is highly activated by this. But just to break it down to Uranus, Ceres, and Sedna first, and then I'll get into the nodal axis, this is deep betrayal healing through partners, through other people in your life that are showing up and reactivating past betrayals, feelings of betrayal, perceived betrayal, where you didn't feel comforted, where you didn't get emotional nurturing, where you didn't get what you needed. But Uranus is a perspective changer. So this is a gift. This is going to feel uncomfortable at times, but it's that opportunity to bring the past up and have that Gemini duality meet it, so that the person that you are this hour, this minute, whenever it happens, has all of the past memories of your entire life, but they're coming with you. But they know that you are the present version that gets to make fresh decisions for what's going on in the moment and fresh assumptions about how your partnerships can be. If your partnerships have been a certain way up until this point, the brain is going to want to tell you that that's what's going to happen. That's the trajectory as well. But this is where you get to have more choice. This is where you get to use the past experiences as intelligence to make decisions, but the outcome can be different. And this is the tricky part, because the brain doesn't want to allow for unpredictable or self-created new patterns. It wants to predict old patterns because that's what it does for us, which is great. We need that. We need that for thinking quickly and reactively, and it keeps us safe. But we also are stepping into a period where we're learning to have more of the power to not just go in circles. Actually, this is another thing that I love that Lynette Malone said in the talk this morning that I was listening to, is that the mutable signs, they can get looped in circles. All signs get stuck in different ways, but the mutable signs, which are Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces, they loop when they get stuck. So have you gone in circles with yourself? With relationships especially? Have you gotten this time it's going to be different, and then it's the same, and then however it's showing up for you? But this new moon is an opportunity for breaking this cycle wherever you're at, whatever cycle is uniquely yours, because we all have ours, and it'll be different. So you're healing your perception of nurturing and betrayal. you are healing the way that you take in words and signals and information and the way that you interpret it from other people. So it's no longer based on your past. You're seeing things from a more present situation and a bigger understanding, because you're a Sagittarius. So this expansiveness that Uranus offers is not so far off of Jupiter, your ruler, which is another expander. Uranus is the expander of perspective, and Jupiter is that building of knowledge from continuing to grow and adding new experiences. So this perspective shift, back to that, is that you're seeing betrayal from a different lens. What I talked about in the intro, where you're starting to see that it was not always about what happened to us. It's about what was going on in the world of that other person at the time, and that they just chose what was best for them, for their survival and their needs. And that's what they needed. We all do that to a certain extent, different extents. Everyone is going to have different measures of how much they consider how their actions affect other people. And there's no right or wrong in that, because considering too much how other people are affected is not good for us, and vice versa. Now, to squaring the nodes, this is your 4th house and 10th house. So again, the North Node in your 4th house brings more layers of Cancerian topics, and we're going to get more into that with your ruler Jupiter being in the actual sign of Cancer. But your 4th house of home and family, which is that Cancer archetype, is ruled by Pisces. This is where you might not have clarity on your home life. Things might be foggy. You might have been let down. You might have had massive losses, and I'm sorry if that's the case, and however that shows up. Pisces can dissolve. It can make things unclear. It can be abuse of neglect, betrayal through dissociation rather than nurturing. But at its best, it can be a creative spiritual upbringing that taught you many wonderful things about how you perceive spirituality and your connection to it. And what I find with our birth charts is that it's all the topics usually. It's the what we say is good, it's the what we say is bad, it's all the different manifestations of the archetypes. And we just get to live out an emphasis in those things. So for you, the story is Pisces in your home life. And you probably had all of those things. You probably had dissociation. Because the topics of betrayal are high right now, you probably experienced dissociation that felt like betrayal. As a result, you might have a harder time creating an ideal home life for yourself. Or you might be so stuck on creating ideals that nothing ever measures up. I am a big advocate of hold on to those ideals. Like the duality of Gemini, let's meet it with reality. But if we didn't reach for the stars, we would never get there. So we do need to set these Piscean idealistic goals. For you, it's for home life. And just keep in mind the dose of reality all along the way. And sometimes there's a lot of patience required with Pisces. It's at the very end of the chart for a reason. We start with the 1st house of us, and we go all around the 12 signs until we get to Pisces, where we complete the cycle and we start again. So that's where there can be a long wait to the end game for Pisces. But something's happening now for you, because you could have wanted it for a long time, but the North Node in your sign of home and family at the very end of its journey is bringing faded home and family things to you. You're letting go with the South Node of something to do with your status, your career, your way of managing your own inner authority. And this is all connecting back to all this activity in your 7th house of partnerships. So it's partnerships now that it could be through jarring ways. It doesn't have to be. It could be quite lovely, and it happens very suddenly. But it's changing your status out in the world. It's changing your home life. And with Jupiter and Venus having just conjoined in your 8th house, There could be pregnancy, there could be transformation at a psychological level, there could be a new cycle of support and abundance coming into your life, a new cycle of deep, intimate bonding with what you truly value, because Venus rules our values and Jupiter is our purpose, what we want to expand in this world. This is a beautiful alignment to come together in your 8th house, and Mercury at the time of this new moon, the ruler of this new moon, is conjoined Aphrodite, which is about that inner power that no one can take away from you, because the 8th house is where you learn, where you gain empowerment. And that empowerment comes from going through all of life's experiences. It comes from going into the depths of the underworld and coming back out. And it is only through putting ourselves through the uncomfortable sides of life that we develop a strength that is untouchable. And that's Aphrodite. That is what no one can take away from you, is that you have been to hell and back, as they say. That's the 8th house, the place that angels fear to tread, fear to go. You've been there, you're going there. And the blessings right now with Jupiter-Venus conjunction that happened on June 9th, something is going to at least seed. You're going to get this sense of optimism and growth in healing at a psychological and financially supportive way. And it could be from other people coming into your life. There's definitely a lot of partnership energy for Sages, but with the physical stuff, it doesn't always show up that way for everyone. I do with 7th house activations and 8th house too. When I do challenge that we don't have to have a significant partnership by all definitions to have people show up in our lives that play a very significant role in how we see ourselves and in how we see ourselves as part of a duality in relationships, because Gemini is the ruler of your 7th house and duality is a major theme. So that's going to create a lot of health in your relationships too, if you can keep that separateness and togetherness that Gemini can hold, that togetherness of things that seemingly don't go together. But Sag, I would love to hear from you. This is a lot going on with your ruler Jupiter conjoining Venus, and Mercury is the ruler of your 7th house of partnerships. It is in conjunction with Aphrodite, which is about love and beauty and values, and it's a partnership new moon for you. So yeah, lots that could potentially come up as far as blessings and expansion as well. And with Venus conjoining your ruler, you're probably feeling and being perceived really well at this time too. But I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below. It's so much fun hearing all of the details there. So thank you for making this come alive, for just checking it out, and for reaching out for Zoom calls. If you'd like to book with me, my booking link will be in the description below. Have a wonderful partnership new moon, and I will see you next time. Capricorn, this is a 6th house new moon for you. So this is all about work, health, discipline, all of those fun things. Well, the 6th house is not necessarily seen as the most fun house, but it is a great place to have a new beginning, especially one that has such beneficial energy in your house of partnerships right now. And the ruler of this new moon is in your partnership house, conjoining Aphrodite. And I'm going to get to that. But that means that there are some connections to other people right now. Significant partnerships, work partnerships, romantic partnerships, marriage, anything that's by contract, or just karmic people that are here to show you something in life. That is where your work is changing, your health is changing, your day-to-day life is changing. And for the Gemini part of the 6th house, I want to emphasize how you're bringing in dualities to support you in a new way. The 6th house is about service and duty, the things we need to do for ourselves to take care of our lives. And sometimes being of service to other or our health can be a full-time job. So the duality is often, how do we hold space for service and joy? service and curiosity, because we're talking about Gemini. How does being of service to your day-to-day life add new knowledge? And how do you live in a duality that embodies the axis of Pisces and Virgo? Because the energy of your 6th house, where the new moon is, but also where Sedna, Uranus, and Aries are co-present with this new moon. And that little body of energy with Uranus and the minor bodies is squaring that axis of Virgo and Pisces, of spirituality. And again, Virgo is the 6th house topics of service, practical discipline, day-to-day life, health. And this is your 3rd and 9th house. So we're overlapping more Gemini topics too, because that's the 3rd house archetype. So we're blending a lot for Capricorns right now. What is it about your communication at a micro level that affects your bigger perspective? Like I talked about in the introduction, Sedna, Aries, and Uranus together at the beginning degrees of Gemini, squaring the nodal axis. This is about a breakthrough in how we perceive the energy of betrayal, how we perceive by knowledge and words, what emotional nurturing and comfort and safety and security at an emotional level means to us. Our perspective of the world as we know it, at whatever age we're at right now, is somehow always going to be tied to the things that we experienced in our formative early development years, under the age of 4, in elementary school, even in high school. Gemini rules elementary school. And a lot of our development that I'm talking about with these Cancerian topics of home and family and nurturing and betrayal, this happens before the age of 4. And however you experienced the responsiveness of your parents is how you expect the world to respond to you. If you worked hard at things and you never got the response that you wanted or hoped for or thought that you deserved because of the effort that you put in, you could develop a sense that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you work, the world is going to not show up the way you expected, not reward you for hard effort. Or worse, the unpredictability of it all can become so fearful and caging that we don't put any effort into anything because it's a wild card. Who knows what's going to happen, and maybe not in our favor, or for some people, the perspective could be not often in our favor. The flip side can be true. You could have had very responsive, nurturing parents that made you think that everything you do is going to get positive feedback. And then when it doesn't, how does that feel? How are you taught to be able to handle difficult, challenging situations where you're on your own when you didn't experience that and get a chance to develop it in younger years? That will be unique to everyone. So I just wanted to put those examples out there and let me know how that shows up in a unique to yourself way. But think about it more in how does that affect your daily life? How does that affect your health and what you do every day? How does it affect your communication and your ability to communicate with others from an intuitive feelings place? Are you listening to how you feel about things? Are you getting cues about your external world based on your internal feelings? Or is it all very logical? These are dualities that we're bringing together at this Gemini new moon. We want it to both be feelings from the past, all of our past experiences and our emotional responses to that, and the duality that those come with us, as well as our present self that is allowed to have different expectations and different outcomes. And that's the tricky part. We need to reprogram our brain to do the impossible, which is break free of its pattern processing, patterns that happened in the past, patterns will happen in the future. And then we have to somehow interrupt that and create something different. For you, this is happening in health, this is happening in work, this is happening in communication, in publishing, in overseas places, in foreign areas. So the south node where Uranus is squaring is in your 9th house of Virgo, and so you're letting go of perspectives that have to do with perfection and over scrutinizing and hypervigilance. You're letting go of a sense of control of the whole grid. Virgo is very good at understanding the whole system and understanding cause and effect, but we can't keep on top of all of those details. There's some letting go that has to happen. And right now, the energy is asking us to let go into the Pisces North Node of trust that things will work out, even if we don't micromanage, the Virgo piece. So this new moon, because it's tied to Virgo, because it's your 6th house, is going to have those qualities. Where are you starting a whole new cycle in how you manage detail, how you perceive the detail of your life, and how hypervigilant do you feel you need to be on all of the information to get things right for fear of the outcome, and where can you trust the outcome more? Now with relationships, you have Jupiter and Venus having conjoined in your house of partnerships, which is one of the most fortunate combinations to have. Something beautiful is blooming when it comes to significant other people in your life. And the ruler of this new moon is conjunct Aphrodite in your 7th house of partnerships as well. This is a new way of moving forward where you're going into partnerships with that duality energy, but you're holding your own when it comes to your emotional security. And you're holding your own with how you feel about other people's actions. And are you interpreting that as a form of betrayal, which is Sedna's story? And if you want more detail on that, check out the intro. And Aphrodite, where the ruler of this moon is conjoining, is about learning that there are qualities that nobody can take away from us, even if they seemingly have it better, they're more beautiful, they have more money, they're getting more attention. That was how Aphrodite felt about Psyche, and Aphrodite had to come to terms with an internal beauty because the way that she was going about it was turning her internal energy into a less desirable frequency by needing to compete, by feeling jealous, by feeling like someone can take something away from her. So I really see this as a new sense of stability for Capricorns, and it's coming from the little things you do every day. And because of that, your health could be changing, your work could be changing, but it looks like you're getting massive blessings in the partnership section of your life. So somebody, maybe many people, but at least significant ones. So it's not like the 11th house where it's a big community of acquaintances. These are people that are showing up, that are committed to the journey that you're on, even if it's from a spiritual place. They're your soul family that is here with you to help reflect things back to you, to help you heal and bring your emotional past bodies of betrayal along on the journey with you from a different place of nurturing, from a different place of holding duality and space for all that has been, and yet moving into that potential with relationships of creating something brand new. Capricorn, you let me know what is changing in your practical life, in your day-to-day life, what ideas are blossoming. This is one of those Uranian, very surprising, sudden shift moments. So you might, at the time of watching this video, you might not even see it yet, but something surprising in your daily life is going to show up, and that's going to have a trickle effect on all of the things that I've been mentioning in this video. So Let me know what surprises come about. How are you feeling about relationships right now? Did a blessing happen around June 9th? Are you feeling a new cycle begin for yourself of expanded love, abundance, money, pleasure, joy, beauty, all of those Venusian things? I hope so. Have a wonderful new moon. And if you would like to join me for a one-on-one, my booking link is in the description below. Thanks for commenting, subscribing, and just hanging out, and all the ways you support this channel. Thank you so much. And I will see you next time. Hi, Aquarius. This is a new moon in your 5th house. This is all about fun, creative self-expression, children, hobbies, everything that you do that brings you back to a sense of your childlike, expressive, unique nature. Have you been feeling creative lately? You could be having new creative ideas. This is a wonderful time to brainstorm and get things out that you want to do in the future. And there's an interesting element with this Sedna Uranus Ceres conjunction at the beginning of Gemini that is squaring the nodal axis for you. And that's the 2nd and 8th house axis where the nodes are. And so there are themes of some kind of betrayal that is either influencing your creativity. Maybe this has to do with children for some of you. This is the house of children. So if you have had family issues with feelings of betrayal and not feeling like there's give and take, or the nurturing that you give to your children is being reanalyzed because of noticing patterns, noticing what was done for you when it comes to nurturing and caregiving, and how you want to move forward with either what comes naturally because of what was given to you or something different. So this could be a moment of awareness that you start to have memories come back of how you feel about caregiving and nurturing and betrayal, and whether or not you have felt supported in your creative self-expression, whether or not you felt supported to just be free in who you are and feel like a kid no matter how old you are. There's a reason we have movies like Peter Pan that show us that holding on to youth is a valuable thing. The nodal axis that's being squared in your 8th and 2nd house gives layers of financial topics, either being financially supported by other people, realizing that you don't need as much financial support from other people, and you are moving into the North Node in your 2nd house of more support and self-worth that you're creating for yourself. If this has to do with children, this could have to do with actual money management, where you're talking about how you allocate and balance the costs of raising children. If you're working with a partner, then there are shared resources that are coming to the surface, and these discussions could bring up feelings of what you want to spend money on when it comes to nurturing and caregiving. And people are going to have different opinions of what spoiling is in the form of nurturing versus letting somebody learn how to build their own wealth or self-soothe when it comes to the skills that we learn from not getting certain things. When we don't have money given to us, when we don't have nurturing that comes easily from the outside, we learn to do those things for ourselves. And everybody's experience is going to be different for these general readings, but it could be on either side. Do you feel like you got what you needed very easily, or did you have to work for it yourself? And this is a moment of bringing those two more into balance. So you're working on your reality, feeling supported by other people, but knowing you can create wealth and abundance on your own, and you have the self-worth that you can create on your own without needing it from someone else, without needing it to be nurtured from an outside source. And it's the same with creativity. And you're an Aquarius, so you know this more than most, that your creative flair, when you are most uniquely you, it comes with a double-edged sword. You both feel good about being able to see the world from the unique perspective that you have. But because it's unusual compared to the majority, it's both a gift and it can be something that feels very isolating. This is a moment where you start to just burst forth with creativity and not care so much about other opinions. You're rebalancing this energy as well, because there does need to be connection. You still need to find common ground enough to connect with other people. But you can't lose that unique gift of your vision and the fun that comes when you are deeply connected to your creative flow. So this new moon is in Gemini, just later degrees than this Sedna-Uranus conjunction that I've been talking about. But it's still about a new beginning with your creative ideas, with how you communicate your creativity, with how you express yourself when it comes to the fun and joy that brings you into alignment of authenticity. And you don't have to hold back. This is a moment where you are finding the words, you're finding the ideas, and you're finding the ways to connect with other people on this. The ruler of this new moon in Gemini is Mercury. Mercury is starting its journey in Cancer, which is your 6th house of habits, routines, how you get work done in life. This is where you just had the Jupiter-Venus conjunction, this fortunate, blessed, loving energy. You could meet somebody in an everyday situation, just going to the grocery store or going to for your morning walk or whatever it is in everyday life that has a very special romance to it. That's the Jupiter-Venus conjunction. It's a new cycle for romance, for money, for abundance, wealth, beauty. This would be a great time for health improvements for you because it's in the 6th house. This is a great time to change your habits and routines to ones that align with a new beauty standard or a new health standard that you have. You could be beautifying your work environment. If you work in creative projects, you could find that there's an extra layer of beautification that happens easily now, and that you're moving into a new cycle with the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. If it's work related in the 6th house, this could be new branding that is visually beautiful and appealing, and that aligns with this Gemini new moon because Gemini is about marketing. It's about media and getting things out into the world. So you have these overlaps where we are talking about your creative process. We're talking about Gemini topics when it comes to media, writing, communication, marketplace is Gemini. Working with your hands could be part of this. And the 6th house of what you do with that at a practical level, the house of Virgo, the house of health. Are your health routines in check? Jupiter-Venus can be overindulgence in any kind of daily thing. So this is the type of energy where if you have habits, you're either going to experience a flare-up where you're leaning more towards indulgence of something, and then the recorrection, because this is a new cycle. So I have been saying make a wish for this one. This was on June 9th, but this is a 1-year cycle, and it's going to be 12 years before it happens again in this part of your chart. So it does have a bigger cycle to it of 12 years when we're talking about what's starting in your 6th house of health and routine and habits. With the overlap of the 5th and 6th house, they're houses that are next to each other, so they don't see each other very easily. There can be friction, misunderstanding. There can just be a searching and not quite getting it. The ongoing practice is going to be to bring that creative self-expression to your communication and feeling vibrant in who you are, in your uniqueness, and that's going to help with the healing of your daily habits and your routines and help your productivity too. The 6th house is a house of productivity. It's a house of projects, getting things done, service to yourself and to others. So is your creativity of service to you and of to others. There might be some reworking that you're doing if this is brand related. What's your why? What's the big why am I doing this? Why would you buy this from me? Whatever it happens to be. Again, these things are going to be quite different. This could speak to children for some people. But for everyone, there's going to be an element of, is this authentic? Is this authentically me? Am I speaking from an authentic place? Am I selling something authentic? Am I marketing something authentic? Am I my most authentic creative self online? Is that who I'm showing the rest of the world? Or am I showing something else? And there's something that's connecting to your satisfaction with the alignment of self and how you operate in a day-to-day way. A lot of the same themes that are activated over and over again because we're about to change signs with the nodes, and the North Node is going to go into your sign, and I'll have a video on that soon. That's when eclipses start happening in your sign, Aquarius. More on that in August. So this is the last little bit of this, what you value and how you merge resources with another person. Your self-worth and how you merge energy with another person. There's a natural autonomy, yet interconnectivity, separateness that functions in a healthy way so that you feel like you can be yourself and stay connected. You can spend money on the things that matter to you and merge resources with another person. And with this new moon being in the 5th house, it is going to be about finding something as authentic as possible to either work on, invest in, spend your energy, spend your mental capacity on, make sure that it's authentically you. And I think that you're naturally doing that and letting any sort of judgments or fear of being isolated in the process fall to the side. But you let me know, Aquarius. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you. Are you feeling more authentic? Are children dominating your conversations of resources? Are your work and health habits changing? It's so much fun hearing what's going on in the comments below. So thank you for joining me here, chatting below. And if you would like to book a one-on-one with me, my booking link is in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Pisces. This is a 4th house new moon for you. What is going on with home and family right now? This is a brand new beginning when it comes to your inner world, how you are similar or different from the place that you were raised, the people who raised you, your family lineage. You are thinking a lot about the foundations of the nurturing that you experienced in your early developmental years. How do you feel nurtured in this moment and cared for? You are going on a bigger journey here with Uranus transiting through Gemini. I have a separate video on that that's linked below. But for today, I really want to emphasize the new moon, of course, the ruler of the new moon in your 5th house, and we'll get to that. But Uranus in its longer transit here with Aries and Sedna is bringing up feelings from how you may or may not have been betrayed, supported, cared for, left for death for someone else's needs. That's the Sedna story. More detail in the intro on that one. But Sedna felt betrayed by her father, who saved himself in the face of the boat sinking. And what happened from that was a whole new universe that was created below sea level. So what is it about your family experience that has created a whole universe of perspective for you? That's the 4th house. That's the foundation of our charts, of our lives. It is those early developmental years that shape our perspective of the rest of the world. The 9th house is perspective, but it's the perspective that we gain throughout the entire life. And as we have experiences that create certain situations, we start to form different realities as we get older. That's when we start to understand more of where our parents were coming from as we mature and we step into some of the adult or real life decisions that they had to make. From a child's perspective, we just don't understand what it's like to have the pressures of surviving as an adult and of caring for children beyond that. You could have new changes in your family or home that are helping bring these things to the surface. And you are one of the signs that is getting this last big nodal activation in your sign and your partnership house. With the North Node in your sign, there's some final details that you are adjusting with the way that you were raised and how that influences you and other. How your partnerships are influenced by the way that you were raised and nurtured, whether or not you felt betrayed by the people that were supposed to care for you. That's how we end up especially acting in our relationships. And the access of self and other is a reflection. It's akin to a full moon, where this is the fullest perspective you're going to get when we're faced with the interactions, especially in committed relationships, which is what the 7th house is about. Contract relationships, committed relationships, marriages, karmic partners. And these contracts, which are karmic partners as well, they're here to show us something about ourselves. And right now, it could be highlighting more about your sense of safety and emotional security. And you're developing this strength. You've been doing this for so long with Neptune and Saturn having been in your sign. And now for over a year, you've had the North Node in your sign, putting all this energy into the strength and power that Pisces really have. They're not seen that way, and a lot of Pisces don't even see themselves that way, depending on personal charts, of course. But there's typically a more go with the flow, dissociated, soft vastness to the energy of Pisces. But it's powerful. It's the ocean. It is a massive container of energy. And when tapped into that way, when realizing how powerful a massive ocean is, it no longer feels disconnected from the world. It is very much a big part of, not a bigger part than what we inhabit as Earth in this planet. So there's a big role with the water sign of Pisces. There is a big power in being connected to that much emotional depth and that much creational energy. And your partnership house, where the South Node is Virgo. That is where earth and water come together and are the most fertile creative force in the world. And then you have this T-square with Gemini bringing all the ideas into the mix. So this is a moment of ripeness when whatever you want to create for your home life and your relationships, you have access to. And the situations showing up in your life right now are going to show you exactly where and how to make those energetic shifts. And I have a feeling that a lot of Pisces actually going to be role models for the rest of us in this one. So whatever you're fine-tuning again in this balance of earthly practical realm and the emotional spiritual connectivity power that you have, that is something that you're role modeling and maybe even teaching for others so that others can follow suit and figure out these energetic shifts that you're doing right now in some of the most profound places of your chart when it comes to home life, family, emotional security, and our deepest, strongest, longest bonds that are in the 7th house. So that can sound a bit heavy. It's just impactful. It's an impactful change of inner world and how you have found your experiences of connection to be up until this point and what you have the capacity to do to change moving forward. It might take a while. This is a new moon that will take a whole year to culminate. The culmination point will be 6 months with the full moon, and then you'll start a new cycle again next year. The ruler of this moon being in Cancer brings up more of these 4th house topics, but this beautiful Jupiter and Venus conjunction in your fifth house is the most romantic experience you could possibly have. It could show up in creativity, it could show up with children, it could show up in the romantic capacity, just going out on fun dates and having fun. For those of you that are enjoying summer in the Northern Hemisphere, this is a wonderful, bubbly, juicy, dating, optimistic. I just want to go out and go to festivals and meet new people and have all the potential of the Jupiterian stuff, which is expansion of your experiences. But also there's this jovial, optimistic playfulness when it shows up in a fifth house new cycle with Venus. All of the best indulgences. This could even have a bit of a hedonistic feel to it, but that's the cycle that you're in. So you're being called to it, you're going for it, and at the same time, it's part of this inner home life story, even though it might not, there might feel like some blind spots, but somehow going out and having fun, dating, being flirty, working on a creative project, all of those things are fueling the changes of your partnerships and your home life as well. So this Jupiter-Venus conjunction happened on June 9th, but it is just the seeding moment of a bigger cycle. This could be a moment of change for your home life, something with your family, the way that you experience emotional safety, but it's going to be a creative, fun time that could have flourishing effect on your relationships, your partnerships, people you live with, and generally just this Jupiter-Venus conjunction and the ruler of this new moon being in your fifth house adds a lot of fun, a lot of play. So go out and enjoy it. I would love to hear how this is showing up in your life. It's so much fun hearing from the Pisces out there. So thank you for that. Thank you for hanging out here and liking and supporting the channel with subs. And if you would like to book with me, my booking link is in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Aries, this is a third house new moon for you, all about communication, media, writing, transportation, neighbors, siblings, close relatives, all of those Gemini third house topics. Also your hands. Do you work with your hands? Do you work with transportation? Then that could be work related. But to do these general readings, this is mostly going to be about communication and mindset. And what I want to really highlight for Aries especially is that this is a moment where you're seeing more about the rainbow bridge. Gemini is dualities, the bridge between two worlds. How do you bring in this energetic, and Uranus is here, so we have this need to bring in a higher perspective, a higher wisdom, more of a divine influence of your communication and your mindset. It's not just the flighty ideas. There's something bigger that's being called to action with Uranus transiting through here. And it could be through analyzing your perspectives of betrayal and nurturing. That's Ceres and Sedna conjoin with Uranus in the same house, co-present with this new moon. This could be big new ideas that activate your 12th house and your 6th house, because there is a T-square from Uranus to the nodal axis, in that axis of work and rest, meditation and retreat and separateness from the world, yet connection of energy where we're all one. This is the cosmic womb. This is where, again, great ideas are born, brewed, and then how do you put things into material action? That's your 6th house. Health, routines, the practical day-to-day stuff, the analytical ability to fix things. That could be the 3rd house, new moon, and Uranus squaring your 6th house. But with the South Node in Virgo in your 6th house, there is a quality at the time of this new moon where you're letting go of work and service or habits in some way. You're letting go of worrying, of overanalyzing, of striving for perfection. The North Node in your 12th house is a letting go, a dissolving, and a giving in to that feeling of things will just be the way they'll be. When we have a square from the third house to the nodal axis, this is about balancing those energies more than ever. So it's not about completely letting go of perfectionism or worry, but how do we have the right dose and then let go where needed? Situations could show up right now that help you with this very thing, that help you find that delicate nuance of your mental health, of your communication, of the ideas that you bring into the world and that you share with the world. A new moon in Gemini can be about your social media presence. It can be about how you market yourself, how you market your business, because there's a south node in the 6th house, which is work. There could be unexpected surprises, unexpected news, gossip that changes the trajectory of the work that you're doing or the habits or the way that you spend your life. You could be going overseas. There could be more overseas communication than usual, and it could be communication from faraway places or overseas places that change your neighborhood. That's the 3rd house as well. Drawing on the exact physical ways this is going to show up is never going to give us the most accurate information, because each of the 12 houses and all of the archetypes, they represent everything in life. They are just perspectives of conscious energy that we apply to absolutely anything and everything with certain topics. So if we stick to the energetic qualities, it's really the way that you communicate, and do you communicate from a place of bringing in divine wisdom, higher perspective with Uranus here. How do you share information that's truthful and relevant because it fits the big picture? And that can be the trick with the macro and the micro. And this is a Virgo thing too, where you have the south node, is that the big picture is one thing. It's that story about everyone, I think it's blind people feeling around a different part of an elephant, and they're saying, no, 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 it's this. One's feeling the leg and one's feeling the tail, and no, 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 it's this. But it is everything. And that is the story that you're putting together in a new way, or a seeding moment, as it is with a new moon, that you're finding ways to integrate the micro and macro in a different way. This beautiful Jupiter-Venus conjunction happened in your 4th house of home, family. This is a wonderful place to have a brand new beginning when it comes to feeling comfort, either on your own in your own home, or more bonded with the people that matter to you, your family, your chosen family, the people you live with, your home life. What does that look like to you? What is your ideal sense of nurturing and emotional comfort? You're setting a new ideal right now, and you're getting more intuitive guidance, more of an energetic sense of what really matters for comforts. You're not looking as much at the practical, like if you have a certain number in your bank account, or a certain amount of pillows on your couch, or a certain amount of family members around you. There's an energetic quality that you're measuring differently now when it comes to these 4th house home life matters. This is also where the ruler of the new moon is. So we're tying in these mercurial Gemini qualities of the 3rd house and the 4th house. This could definitely have to do with neighborhood, neighbors changing. This could have to do with unexpected news from a neighbor that affects your home life. And how do you move forward with that from a way that adds more to what you need out of a comfortable, safe foundation in your life? If some of you have been wanting to move overseas or closer to the ocean, or more Piscean topics in your life in some way, I could see this being a moment of change for that. If you've been looking for a home, Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your 4th house can bring a dream home to fruition. It can be a new cycle of abundance and opulence and beauty in your home life. So go for it. If something like that is showing up and presenting itself, it's a really wonderful omen to have this June 9th conjunction happening and starting a new cycle for home and family, whatever that means to you. At the very least, I think a lot of Aries people are going to be feeling open-hearted, open to creating families, bonding with existing families, changing your home life in ways that feel comforting. But there's also going to be an element of mercurial discussion. There's going to be exchange of ideas and curiosity. Maybe some of you are even doing social media around home, like marketing homes if you are in real estate. Again, that's a small few of you, but I do see a lot of overlap potential there. Around the time of this new moon, Venus moves into Leo, and this is a great place for Venus. It will trine your first house, your sign. So this is a wonderful time for those beauty updates, but it's in your 5th house, so it's also just going to be fun. It's a great time to go out and play, make some art, be creatively expressive. And that's Gemini new moon for you too, is that you are walking into a new way of expressing yourself. And Venus in your 5th house for the upcoming month is just going to add to that. For those of you enjoying summer in the Northern Hemisphere, wonderful energy to have your 5th house activated by Venus for dating and romance and play and just overall joy in your hobbies and having fun. So you get to feel like a child, like a kid again, Aries, and that puts you in your element because you like that freedom of fire and action and going after what you want, and having your 5th house of Leo activated for the summer is absolutely wonderful. The sun is also going to move soon into your 4th house for July, which is going to continue on those home life themes. And then come August, when Venus moves on from your 5th house, you'll have the sun there. So I think July and August, this whole summer looks really good for Aries out there. Do you have fun stuff planned? What is going on in your life for the next upcoming months? Take advantage of some of this fun flow energy if you don't already have stuff planned. And keep in mind that communication is taking on a whole new form. You're working out how that best benefits your work, your health, your habits, and your ability to rest and take a time out. Would love to hear how this is playing out for you, Aries. Thank you so much for hanging out here, checking out this video, liking and subscribing and supporting in all of those ways. It's really so much fun to chat with you in the comments too. So thank you for that. If you would like to book with me, my booking link is in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Taurus. This Gemini moon is happening in your 2nd house of value. What ideas do you value? What do you value about yourself and your own intellectual intelligence? What do you value about the generating of ideas in general? How are you adopting the rainbow bridge and being that holding place for the dualities that Gemini embodies when it comes to what you value? You might be finding that you're valuing opposites. You're valuing both the physical world and the spiritual world. That's the rainbow bridge that comes together in the field of Gemini. But what other opposites are there? There are lots in life that seemingly don't go together, that the Gemini mind can coexist in those opposites. So you're adding more value, not just to the things that you believe in, but maybe things that are also seemingly opposite or don't have anything in common, but you can hold space for both. And that's when we can value all of the faces of who we are as a person and individual. Uranus here, co-present with the new moon, conjunct Ceres and Sedna, is about the betrayal that you've experienced, nurturing that you received or didn't receive, the way that you feel emotionally secure in this world, and the people that are there for you, that have your back. And if they don't or they haven't, what was their personal agenda that they needed to take care of, and it wasn't necessarily about the risk of someone else or the betrayal of someone else. But sometimes that's inevitably how it goes when we're taking care of our own needs. These topics could come up in lots of different ways. Uranus here is about having a higher perspective of this. A situation could show up that you realize that what you thought was a past betrayal actually was somebody doing the best they could to take care of themselves. Sometimes that's at the cost of others. That the nurturing you received or you didn't receive actually allowed you to create more self-worth for yourself. Because when things aren't given to us in life, we have to build them from the ground up. And it's that quality that at a spiritual level is the most rewarded and highly regarded. When we create something from the ground up, we embody that as a soul, or we remember that as a soul, and we get to come into our next incarnation with that as a given. And that becomes something that no one can take away, which is one of my big Venus themes. And because this is a second house transit for you, we're talking about Venusian topics as well. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, and Taurus is the classic position for the second house. So this is a seeding moment of changing what you value, valuing new things, seeing things from a different perspective as far as what you value with comfort and safety at a physical and energetic and emotional level. As a Taurus rising, you have the physical security under wraps, most likely. Even the Tauruses I know that feel like they don't have it all together, they do. But there's just always this eye on the ball with Taurus when it comes to stability in the physical world. So most likely you have that more under control than you realize. It's the emotional underneath it that can sometimes get neglected. So think about the dualities. This is a moment to bring both emotional and physical and practical together, and you'll have more physical and practical benefits likely as a result. The second house Uranus is squaring the nodal axis for you in the 11th and 5th house. It's these changes in values that are happening and how you see your own self-worth and how you manage your assets and how you manage your energy that are changing your creative flow. You're less self-critical maybe of your creativity. You are not going into perfectionist mode as much as you used to or have in the past, and that's allowing for more creative flow. And when you let go of self-criticism of your creative process, you can connect better with the humanitarian goals of the group, of your groups, of the collective. But you're trusting more of this Piscean, go with the flow energy and knowing that it's going to lead you to more connectedness with the system, whatever system that is for you. It could be your communities, people you hang out with, acquaintances, an audience, clients. And when you're less self-critical of your creative process, you're tuning in naturally to the creative process that is aligned with the group, with the collective, which in a lot of ways enhances your own detail and creative juice as well. With Uranus squaring the south node, well, the nodal axis in general, but what I'm talking about with letting go of the self-criticism is the south node in Virgo in your 5th house. There can be so much more to it than that. This is where you have fun. This is where you let go. So there's a bit of a contradiction when you have a sign like Virgo that can be very hyper-vigilant and detail-oriented and service and getting work done. Yet this is where you're supposed to be free and playful and liberated. You're merging these two and you're moving towards something that brings you a lot of vitality. So you want to let go of anything that's over detailed, that's draining your energy. That can be a big part of this connection to the second house, because where this moon is and where Uranus is squaring the nodal axis, this is your energy source as well. This is where you spend it. This is how you spend your money, but it's how you spend the energetic capacity that you have every day. We only have so much. So where are you going to allocate it? And you're getting more clear on that. You're not wasting energy in service to others, and you might be aligning more with what really is fun for you. This beautiful Venus and Jupiter conjunction on June 9th happened in your 3rd house. You could be getting beautiful messages. You could feel more nurtured in communication with important people in your life. Venus is your ruler, so this is a time where you could be more chatty, feel more conversational. You could have a gift of writing right now. So if you feel called to writing creativity, that could be how this is showing up for some of you. You're being less critical of what comes out in literature and down on paper and just letting it flow. At the end of July, we will have a new moon in this third house of communication where Jupiter and Venus have come together. This Jupiter-Venus conjunction is a 8-month cycle, but this next new moon will activate another layer of it. A new takeoff point is how you can see it. So those of you who are involved in media, marketing, sales, communication, writing, professionally, any of those things, it could even be transportation. Consider it a couple of new moons in some ways. That June 9th is a lovely new start, the end of July, and I will post a new moon video for that one. And overall, Taurus, this is about reassessing your values. Reassessing your values with communication, with service, with fun. How does it align with yourself and another? And the key is going to be in holding those dualities, that what you value can matter, and it can be completely different than what someone else values, and you can still have connectedness in some way. You can still share some common ground, even if it's just holding space for dualities, even if it's just holding space for there's a spiritual world out there that has a purpose. We might think we have a different purpose here on the physical world. What is it that allows you to have more emotional security, that is about forgiving and letting go of past hurts and past betrayals, that is allowing you to be less critical of yourself? Maybe you've had betrayal in the past from people being too critical of what you're putting out, and that has squashed your creativity. And now you're seeing that that was one truth, but it's that duality thing. It's not the whole truth. It was their perspective at that time, and it might not even have anything to do with your real creative talent. This is just an example. You can apply it to any situation in life where another person's perspective doesn't need to be taken personally, and subconsciously you may have, even if you didn't realize it. And now is a time where you get to set a new tone, fresh creativity, new communication, new marketing, new media, something that aligns with some kind of new idea that brings a new level of self-worth or new financial investing and resources your way. You could be creating resources from writing. That could be how this shows up for some of you, or the marketing, media, sales, and that sort of thing. So with the third house blessings, the more you feel emotionally supported, the more the marketing and media will flourish as well. There's a tone that is covered in the second house. It could be the tone of our voice, but there's a tone of our energy when we're using our energy with a certain intention. And that applies to this third house, marketing and media. If the tone and the intention of what you're putting out there is not aligned with what you're actually trying to, how it's showing up, people can see and feel that tone. So what I'm getting at is when people do things out of desperation because they need and want something and they have to have it, you can feel it. Sometimes we don't even know what we're experiencing with that particular piece of marketing or video or whatever it is, but we pick up on the feeling consciously or subconsciously. So that could be also something that you're working on right now, with adjusting the tone, the intention, the frequency, and people are picking up on more of this creative freedom. And that is going to attract the right groups and the right people into your life. It's going to happen naturally with this transit. These moments when planets hit certain positions just highlight what's already clicking into place. And I like to do these videos as a way to highlight what's important, or what to pick out of all of the stuff that goes on in our lives as important pondering things for your next step. You let me know, Taurus. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you. It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments. So thank you for showing up there, for taking the time to say hey, for the subs and likes, and just watching this video. It means so much. So thanks for being here. Have a wonderful new moon. And if you would like to process more with me, my booking link is in the description below. I'll see you next time. Hi, Gemini. This new moon is all about you. You are the expert at Gemini topics. You are the expert at duality. This is your new moon of the year. So this is a brand new beginning, or planting the seed, as we do in our birthday season, of what we want the year ahead to look like. But more importantly, what do you want to look like? And how do you want to come across to other people? This is using the tools, the skills, the innate things that you've been given. This is the area that you default to in life, especially if you are a Gemini rising. If you are a Gemini sun, this is about the direction that you're going in towards your soul purpose in life. If you're a Gemini moon, this is going to have more qualities on an emotional reset for you. This is a feelings perspective where you perceive the world through the lens of a Gemini, of all of the dualities that exist. But other people might not see that side of you so readily. If you are a Gemini rising, when all else fails, you always default back to your Gemini qualities, that you can hold space for everything that exists in the world, that you can step into the role, ask the right questions, get the right information out of people. This is a moment, though, where you're recalibrating how you want to balance the energy that you can pull at, because you can really pull from anything, anywhere. You can juggle a lot of information and a lot of details compared to other people, and you can carry a conversation better than most. It's just having a side thought before recording this, that if Mercury is in an earth sign, there is more chance that people actually don't like to talk that much. I think it's Mercury in the earth signs that get the most exhausted from chit chat. But a Gemini can hold their own, especially if you have the Sun and Mercury in Gemini, which if the Sun is in Gemini, there's a high chance that your Mercury is as well. So how are you going to best use your skills this year, Gemini? What qualities are you going to draw on, and what are you going to focus on? Uranus is going to throw you a lot of curveballs. You've probably been seeing some about this, and if you want more, check out my Uranus and Gemini video. But for this new moon, we have Uranus combining energy with Sedna and Aries, squaring the nodal axis for you in the 4th and 10th house. You are one of the mutable signs that's being lit up right now, with your angles of your chart being activated. And this is where public image comes in very strongly, because the North Node is in Pisces in your 10th house of authority, public image, status, career, how other people see you. But this is also a foundation building part of your chart, especially when you're talking about the axis, because the 4th house is technically the foundation of our chart. It's our home, our inner world. That's where the South Node is. So you're being asked to bring more of your inner world, more of your home life out into the spotlight, into your career, into the way that you have into your persona, though this is the way that people see you. And with Capricorn 10th house topics, for you it's Pisces, but the 10th house has a Capricorn flair. There is a quality of putting on certain masks for certain situations. And that's a very skillful tactic to use when we need to. But there's a lack of authenticity in it, that we are getting wiser to these nuances as a human race. We probably always have, but now more than ever, we can put language to it and pinpoint it. With AI and communication technology taking over in new ways, we are being challenged more than ever to search and cue into true authenticity, and see through these facades, which we've always used. So it's a fine tuning of when they're applicable and how to make them as authentic as possible. This is where falling back on the tools that you have is a great thing to do, the God-given innate skills, but to put more consideration into, is this really me when I'm stepping into an authority? What am I fighting for? What am I taking action for? What is the intention behind my actions, which is your first house, not just falling back on natural skills. So Uranus is going to shake things up a bit there. And if you have been taking any action as a defense mechanism against betrayal or lack of nurturing or anything related to those topics, you'll start to notice those patterns and realize that there is a more genuine place to take action from. That the past hurts don't need to carry forward into how we move through the world. And this is about taking masks off, taking your guard down, and there's an openness and open-heartedness that people can feel, and that creates a receptivity, which creates more authority, which is where the North Node is in your 10th house. This is going to feel familiar. With Uranus squaring the nodes, there is something that we're going back over that we've done before to finesse this part of our life. But it's really the core. It's really the core pieces of you, Gemini, the inner world, the home life, your public face, the skills that you have. This is why the angles of the chart are deemed so important, because they have a strong relevancy in everything we do. The exciting Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your second house happened on June 9th. This is where the ruler of this moon is, which is your chart ruler, Mercury. This is where leaning into what you value around nurturing, comfort, care, security from an emotional perspective. Who are the people that are in your closest network, the people that you call family, the people that feel like home? Most likely, a lot of Geminis will be placing more value on these important figures. And they can be people that boost your own self-worth too, that really see you for who you are. As someone that is all-encompassing of all of the faces that you bring to the world, of all of the different dynamic parts of your personality. Some people aren't going to be able to adjust to that or understand it or see you for who you are. It can be confusing to some people, and it can feel, this is why Gemini has these terms around trickery and mischievousness, because people just don't see all the ways that the faces work together and that they are all multiple truths of who you really are. There are also what we call shadow expressions of every archetype. So that can be something that we step into subconsciously, even when we're in that protective mode. And that brings me back to that piece about which tools are you going to lean on? Are you doing things out of fear of betrayal, out of guarding yourself from past hurts? Or are you working towards a present version of self that has the ability to be more open-hearted and let your guard down? With Uranus in your first house and this new moon, this can be a moment where you're changing your look and how your appearance and your tools that you use in the world in some way. Uranus is a longer transit over the next 7 years now, so you might have multiple different radical changes to your self, your body, and your persona over this transit, because your energy and your frequency is changing, and then our appearance changes as well. So with the second house, this can have to do with your actual money. I think for most of you, this is going to have to do with how you allocate and spend your energy. And there's usually a financial match to that, how we spend our energy, who we spend it with, how much energy we have to give. That can have to do with how we manage our finances as well. The way that you nourish your body could change. You might have a different emotional connection emerging with food. That's the second house. How you take care of your body. This can be clothing as well. This is a really wonderful transit. I just have to say, for actual money, when you have Jupiter and Venus conjoining in the second house, you could have an awesome reset for your self-worth, for the values, the possessions that you have. There can be some expenses too. It depends on how this shows up in your chart. It's really chart specific for each person, and it depends on how these activations that I'm talking about in the general reading, how they actually interact with the planets of your chart. And that can make things show up on either spectrum of some of the more positive manifestations that I talk about and some of the ones that need more work. So enjoy this personal reset, Gemini. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you. Are you feeling those money changes with Jupiter, Venus conjoining in your second house? Are you feeling the urge to cut your hair or have a new style or do something radically different with the way that you present yourself, how you show up in the world? Career could be changing, home life could be changing, lots of big new beginnings here, Gemini, and a wonderful time to embark on new changes as well with the overall picture of astrology right now. Thank you so much for hanging out for this video, for chatting with me in the comments, for reaching out for one-on-one Zoom calls. It makes this all so much fun. If you would like to book with me, check out my link in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Cancer. This is a new moon in your 12th house. This is the house of hidden things, faraway places, overseas places, meditation, retreat, rest. This is a time out before your birthday, which is a very important rest period of reflection before you get the sun in your sign and you start a whole new cycle of solar return and vitality flare. But at the same time, you've just had this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your sign for the second time, except this time Jupiter is direct. You have Mercury in your sign as well, which can make you more chatty, wanting to get into conversation more, especially opening up emotionally. And Mercury is the ruler of your 12th house. So that brings some of this otherwise rather secluded energy into the forefront of who you are. It's as if whatever time away or rest or meditation, overseas retreat is giving you a regeneration boost, and it could be feeling like an early solar return as far as the vitality returning to your system, or it could be on the other side where you're still being in a bit more of a fatigue cycle and the world is encouraging you to rest. There could be some changes to your body, some loss or shifting when Mercury, the ruler of your 12th house, is in your first house. This is a dissolving energy. If there's something that hasn't been working with your tool set or your body or the way that you assert yourself, the way you take action in the world, this could be a dissolving of the old in order to allow for a regeneration, very likely when the sun moves into your sign in a matter of days after this, a week or so. Uranus in your 12th house is a bigger story. This is connected with Aries and Sedna, and there's more detail in my Uranus and Gemini video. But for this new moon, the Uranus and Sedna piece is most relevant, and this could be subconscious energy coming to you in dreams or when you're resting that's bringing up betrayals and losses and ways that you felt nurtured or not nurtured in the past. You could have past memories flooding to you for a reset. That's the opportunity of this new moon, is that you're resetting what you don't see about yourself. This can be the subconscious, but we all have these blind spots in life, and that's the 12th house. So if you have been leading and taking action because of betrayal or being in more of a protective mechanism, which is very easy for Cancers to default to, that is the archetype of the crab in the shell. The crab is by archetype a more defensive animal, creature. It's protective, though. It's not that it's defensive and angry, and everyone's chart could be very different, but there's a protection that is necessary to nurture and protect the sweet, soft, gentle side in all of us. But for you, this is what it's going to feel like, or at least be highlighted at this time. So you can expect some unexpected subconscious material, unexpected opportunities for rest and taking a break, maybe a vacation, time away. Take it. This is a wonderful time for reflection and rest. Now, Jupiter and Venus conjoining in your sign is a brand new cycle for your romantic, financial, beauty, pleasure, food, all of those Venusian, Taurus, and Libra topics that can be healed and expanded with a new cycle with Jupiter. And in your sign, it means that you're taking action differently towards your wealth, towards money. You have a new money mindset, maybe, because Mercury is co-present here. You are taking a new look at love. You're looking at romance and connection differently, and your one-on-one relationships. This is also energy where you could go on vacation and have a lovely romantic oceanside, meditative, secluded getaway. You could have more hidden time with a partner. You could have a new relationship that is a secret for now or behind closed doors. Venus being the ruler of your 4th house and your 11th house adds layers of home, family, community, networks. So your inner world, the pieces that you inherited from your family and your lineage, and then who are the people you surround yourself with now? Who's your community and your acquaintances, your allies that support you in life? Back to the 12th house, Uranus squaring the nodes is the activation of your 3rd and 9th house, which is more overseas potential stuff. 9th house is foreign places, foreign people, spiritual pilgrimage, spiritual practices, higher education, teaching. This is the wisdom that you gain from experiences that are different than your own, and it can have to do with travel. You've had these travel houses lit up for a while and will continue to. The node's going to move on, but Uranus in your 12th house is for quite some time. So if you are someone who likes to travel and wants to discover new things, with the themes of this moon being Gemini and the south node in your 3rd house, which is the Gemini house of communication, you have extra emphasis on how you deliver your ideas, how you manage social media, writing, communication with other people. How do you funnel what's most important, which is the 9th house? What is the point of social media? What's the point of conversation? You could be having a whole new reset on how you present yourself, how you present yourself online, marketing if you own a business. And it's through words that you are realizing you have the power of frequency to connect energy and material form. That could be the duality that you are merging. With Gemini being the 12th house, this is a very energetic house. But how do we make purpose of that? That's the Sagittarius 9th house energy, that wanting to be called into the situation. So whatever you're doing, Cancer, you are looking for more purpose. Things need to make sense in the big picture. You might be having a lot of unexpected spiritual surprises, unexpected shifts in how you perceive energy and how you make sense of the world. And it could come for some of you through forced rest or need to get away. And just know that if that's the case, there is purpose in this. You are going through your last bit of the North Node in your 9th house of integrating higher wisdom in a new way, taking the information, making something meaningful out of it. And with this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your sign, it is very likely to enhance your finances, enhance your relationships, heal your own assertiveness and action in the world. And a lot of Cancers might be coming out of their shells and feeling more safe, emotionally safe, to move towards what you want. But I would love to hear from you. How is this showing up in the real world? It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments. So thank you for joining me there, for watching this video. If you would like to book with me, check out my booking link in the description below. But for now, have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time for your birthday. Hi, Leo. This is an 11th house new moon for you. So this is all about your community, your networks, allies, people who are here to support you, groups that you're a part of that have the same humanitarian goals as you, the people you align yourself with that want the same things out of life, that have the same intentions. This can also be online communities and clients. Uranus is here shaking things up for several years, but right now is bringing on themes with Aries and Sedna about betrayal and nurturing. And we just had this Jupiter-Venus conjunction in your 12th house of Cancer, which is also that emotional nurturing. Something could have come out of your subconscious, out of the hidden energetic realms that maybe in your dream life, that shifted your perspective of how you feel nurtured and connected in bigger groups. With acquaintances, we don't necessarily have that connection we do with people that we're really close to, where they just know us. And there's a comfort and a nurturing in that, and they're there to emotionally support us. Your acquaintances, especially with Gemini being the ruler here, are just sharing random knowledge. They're sparking new ideas. They could definitely be intellectually sparking some new interest in how you look at things with Uranus here. This is your bird's eye view. So you're looking at systems differently. You're looking at systems and networks of people differently. And the big question when we've had a Venus-Jupiter conjunction in your 12th house is, what do you value? What values are you letting go of? Things that move into the 12th house dissolve so that we can make new and we start new cycles in our first house. There can be overindulgence and dissociation and wanting to go off into oblivion and escape reality. That can be part of these 12th house activations. Or at least you're becoming more aware of dissociative habits, and especially as they show up in these communities and networks, because that's the bigger theme with this new moon starting. Venus has moved on now from Cancer and is in your sign, which is the ruler of your 10th house and your 3rd house. This is putting even more eyes on you, and in a very positive way. Your status could change, how you approach matters of authority, whether it's authority with other people or your own inner sense of authority, how you take action in the world, and especially as it relates to communication. And with Libra being the ruler of your communication house, this is an area where you're balancing listening and using the right words. This goes back to what I talked about in the introduction with spoken and written word having a sacred vibration. It's when we bring energy into physical form, that's the gift that we have in the Gemini house and topics of language, and being that rainbow bridge of being a connecting piece for the energetic realm, what we energetically want to convey, and then what we actually say, how we say it. A lot of Leos are going to be focusing more on language right now and the weight of your words. Uranus, that's co-present with this moon in Gemini, squaring the nodes, is squaring the 2nd and 8th house, where we're talking about values. What you value about language, what do you value about your mind, your hands-on work, your ability to make practical use of your thoughts and your intelligence. This could be actual resources. So maybe you're working with new networks and new groups of people on how to make money, how to invest money. With the North Node in your 8th house, this is about other people's resources. This could be a year where you're having a lot of conversations about merging resources, how you're supported by other people financially or energetically. This is also your psychological transformation that happens in deep, intimate relationships so that you can form intimate bonds. And this is where psychological ghosts can come out of the closet in order to recalibrate what you value based on the present moment, what the here and now has to offer, not the past subconscious stuff that's operating in the background. You could get genius, intuitive ideas from networks and community that help you on this process of values, resources, subconscious, and letting go of self-criticism is a big one for Leos right now. It might even be subconscious, but the South Node in your second house of Virgo is releasing some of the qualities of Virgo that are holding you back. So if you are over-analytical, hyper-vigilant, overly critical, it's with good intention usually to get the best project forward. But when it's in your second house of scrutinizing over the details of money or your self-worth, you're creating friction by getting too stressed out about the details of these things rather than leaning into this Pisces North Node energy in the 8th house of trust and letting go. North Node in the 8th house is the release of the old. It's that transformational phoenix rising from the ashes energy. But we can have a lot of resistance to letting go. And that can be the South Node in your second house of just wanting things to stay the same. It's an asset to have consistency, but there comes a point where we do need to let go of old ways of connecting, old ways of managing money, and old ways of thinking about our value, our self-worth, and what we have to offer, and how you spend your money and how you spend your energy as well. So think about that with this nodal axis, 2nd and 8th. Are you ready to let go of something that could make you feel like you're jumping off of a cliff into the abyss? You don't really know what the future holds, but trusting that you are very capable and you have these South Node Virgo skills to put very practical use to your energy and your values, and let the rest follow. The clues for that are coming from networks, community, friends. So if there's friction that shows up, if you feel a sense of betrayal in a community or a network or with acquaintances or online audience or anything like that, think of it as just a activation to stir something up in you that's ready to let go so that you can move more into the either intimate bonds or towards the things that you really value with your energy and your money and your time. Enjoy Venus in your sign now, Leo. This is a wonderful time to update your look if you feel called to. Haircuts, clothes, those things that add to our appearance. And every year that you get Venus in your sign, every 8 months, it's a reset. It's a moment where you get to catch up to the energetic changes that have already happened and have a new look that goes with it. This is a lot of energy of letting go for Leos, letting go of old ways of being, old energetic patterns and imprints, old ways of connecting. I would love to hear how this is showing up for you, Leo. It's so much fun chatting with you in the comments. So thank you for joining me there, for hanging out for this video, for supporting this channel in all of the ways. It is so very appreciated. And if you would like to book with me, my link will be in the description below. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time. Hi, Virgo. This is a 10th house new moon for you. This is all about career, reputation, your authority out in the world, and how you manage authority and rules and standards and systems. What foundations are you building right now for your career, for your mindset around career, because we're talking about Gemini, and in your public image or career status, whichever applies to you, maybe just how you handle authority in the world or your own. How are you merging both worlds or two dualities of something or multiple. This is where you're combining energy and your public presentation, your personas, the masks that you wear, and you're making them more authentically you. Uranus here is creating revolutionary change for your career and your status in the world. With Sedna and Aries right now, the messages are about letting go of past betrayal and need for nurturing in order to step into the role that you want to in the world. Uranus is going to help you break through those old patterns and release. It's going to happen quite naturally around this new moon. And it's squaring your axis of self and other. This is going to have a big effect on who you are out in the world, but even on your relationships, your significant partnerships that reflect back who you are. You have been going through this fated relationship axis for quite a while now, with the North Node in your partnership house. And whether it's obvious or not, fated people are coming in and out of your life to change you. Virgos are letting go of a lot of qualities of how they initiate out in the world, and you might be becoming more aware of how you operate and how you take action and why, and the nervousness and anxiety that can come with going after what you want, especially for a Virgo. Virgos, being of service, are more about following a system. And with energy like this, the system is breaking. You're breaking a mold of some kind, and you're stepping out with this Uranus in your 10th house in a more unusual way. You're not following what other people have done. This is where you're stepping in to a different authority of self and a different way of leading, a different way of building a foundation, maybe even. Of those Virgo qualities, you are one of the most attentive signs. You have a high understanding of detail and how to organize it and make sense of it and fix things. But if it's out of balance in any way, that can be very draining. And this energy wants you to take this Uranus energy and this new moon, want to take you to the top of the mountain, want you to go as high as you can go and let everything go that's holding you back. It looks like partnerships are helping you get where you want to go. And even if it's feeling like friction, it could at the time of this new moon, but it's a very important bursting forth and shattering of the old status and image. Jupiter and Venus having conjoined in your 11th house is wonderful energy for a long-held wish coming true. That's one of the things covered in the 11th house. It's also the ruler of your partnership house, your 9th house. Jupiter rules your partnership house of Pisces by classic traditional position. Venus is the ruler of your 2nd house of finances with Libra, and 9th house of higher ideas and visions and teaching. This could be a brand new beginning in any of these topics that has to do with your networks, your community of people that are working towards the same things as you, have the same goals, maybe are of the same service in the world, because we're talking about a Virgo here. And when you're with like-minded people, you're getting a boost in your self-worth. This is the 2nd house connection with Venus. Your ability to balance self and other, because your 2nd house is also Libra. So you have these 1st, 7th house topics come back again, where you want to be of service, but you need some for yourself as well, or you want connection, but there's a mirroring that happens, and there's work to do in these bonds, and there's change and growth. So this is the duality that can take place at a Gemini new moon, is that relationships are wonderful, wishes coming true are wonderful, new jobs, status changes, changing who you are. But change comes with loss. Change comes with shedding of an old self. It comes with letting go of certain things that we thought were helpful tools, but had the wrong intention. Maybe you because you're on the mutable cross, you could be one of the signs that has been taking action out of protection with the Aries and Sedna conversation. If you're doing it because you don't feel like you're getting the nurturing you need, or you're doing it because you assume that other people are going to give you the nurturing you need to give yourself, or are you expecting betrayal in your career? Are you hiding from changing the way things have been done in career, or your relationship to authority? That's a give and take. We have to respect and follow a lot of the laws and regulations that exist in this world. Yet, in order to create any kind of change, we need to sometimes break that and move out of what's typically been done. So you're being bold in career. I think a lot of Virgos are feeling like a completely different self. You've had the South Node in your sign for over a year, and it's just finishing the last couple of degrees before it moves into Leo at the end of the month. And that's going to feel very different, Virgo. You could have a lot of energy come back. So I think what's happening at this new moon looks very promising as part of a seeding moment for getting your energy back, for standing up for the authority for yourself, for knowing what really matters to you. That's the Venus-Jupiter conjunction. When you figure out what really matters to you for your inner world and your home life and these Cancerian topics, then you can hold on to something that is yours and no one can take away. And there's a sense of security in that. There's a sense of knowing that the right communities and networks are going to come to you. You're going to magnetize the people who have the same goals in life. You're going to get to the places you need to in your career, even if it feels uncomfortable, to break the old molds and step into a different authority than you ever have before, a different mindset, different ideas than the norm, because this is Gemini we're talking about. And all through this, it looks like you do have supportive people around you, Virgo. I would love to hear what's going on. Do you feel supported by your networks? Do you have significant people coming into your life that feel like they have a karmic and powerful supportive nature? Are you feeling emotionally supported by yourself, by other people? Virgos can tend to lean on the overly critical of self side, especially if you're a Virgo rising, all Virgo rising, moon, sun. But you're moving through that in a different way now. And it looks like a lot of confidence brewing at this new moon, and people are seeing it. People are seeing it. They're appreciating your ideas, your genius, your craftsmanship, because you could be working with your hands as well. And it's something that's getting a bit more public attention, gaining new audience. If you don't see it yet, whatever seeds you're planting right now are going to grow in all of these topics that I'm talking about. A new moon can always just be intention and seed planting, and wait 6 months to see what really comes about from the action that you're taking right now. Thank you so much for chatting with me in the comments, Virgo, sharing what's going on. If you would like to book with me, my booking link is in the description below. So much fun meeting you for Zoom calls. Thank you for just hanging out for this video. Have a wonderful new moon, and I will see you next time.